We'll have to stop at Dollar General or something so I can get it.
Sorry, guys.
Does Myers do that?
No.
Well, that sucks.
Alright, so Lost Superfoods. I haven't done anything from this one. 126 plus survival foods and tips for your stockpile. So here we go, you guys. This book was conceived to help you build a long-lasting, nutrient-rich stockpile using the time-tested foods of our grandparents from a time when there was no refrigeration. If you are concerned about your family's future, about the next crisis or widespread food shortages, which are coming, then this book is for you. Compared to our grandparents' generation, most of us are ill-prepared today. We rely too much on refrigerators and supermarkets and too little on ourselves. Most of us today are at the mercy of others, but we just don't realize it yet. Until now, some of these powerful survival foods that made our grandparents so self-reliant have been lost to history. I know that for a fact because before writing The Lost Superfoods, I had been looking everywhere for a book like this one. So I hope you'll make good use of these superfoods I've managed to save for you and begin building the most inexpensive, yet nutrient-rich and long-lasting food stockpile you can ever imagine. That's how you can keep your family safe when all hell breaks loose and food becomes the most sought-after item. Your friend Art Rude. Copyrighted by Claude Davis. Okay, here we go. So, the disclaimer. This book is designed only to provide information. This information is provided and sold with the knowledge that the publisher, editor, and authors do not offer any legal or other professional advice. In the case of a need for any such expertise, consult with the appropriate professional. This book does not contain all information available on the subject. This book has not been created to be specific to any individual's or organization's situation or needs. Every effort has been made to make this book as accurate as possible. However, there may be typographical and/or content errors. Therefore, this book should serve only as a general guide and not as the ultimate source of subject information. The authors, editor, and publisher shall have no liability or responsibility to any person or entity regarding any loss or damage incurred or alleged to have incurred directly or indirectly by the information contained in this book. You hereby agree to be bound by this disclaimer, or you may return this book with guaranteed time period for full refund within the guaranteed time period. Some products described in this book do not comply with FDA, USDA, or FSIS regulations or local health codes. Dehydrating meat products does not reduce the health risk associated with meat contaminated with Salmonella or E. coli. 015787. The instructions provided have not been reviewed, tested, or approved by any official testing body or government agency, and it's probably a good thing. The authors and editor of this book make no warranty of any kind expressed or implied regarding the safety of the final products or the methods used. The use, making, or consumption of any products described in this book will be done at your own risk. Our ancestors survived. Alright, here goes. The first one, it starts right out with Doomsday Ration recipe. And here we go, guys. This one might be a little bit long. Maybe not. I don't know. I'll show the pictures. Promise. And I will take the picture to put with each one of these. Alright. During the Cold War era, the United States government spent a massive amount of time and money attempting to develop a high-calorie survival cracker. A multitude of both through and trial error. Trial and error. They didn't type that right. Went into the creation of the hardtack crackers designed to feed the masses after a nuclear attack. During the early 1950s, hundreds of thousands of Americans volunteered to man the rooftops of buildings, fire towers, and even church steeples 24/7 to keep a keen eye out for the Russian bombers rushing through the sky. The presumption at the time, which of course defies what preppers now believe, is that the bulk of the population of the United States could survive a nuclear attack. Fallout shelters were big business back then. Everyday Americans were scraping together every last dime they had to build a fallout shelter in their backyards or turning their basements into a World War III bug-in location. The threat of a nuclear attack during the Cold War era impacted everyday life of all Americans. School children were taught to duck and cover under their desks to better protect themselves if World War III began while they were in class. In New York City, more than 2 million dog tags were distributed to students to help identify dead bodies after an attack and to help reunite little survivors with their parents. Morbid but practical reasoning prevailed in at least one Indiana county's attempts to deal with the aftermath of a nuclear attack. Instead of issuing military-style dog tags to students, the children had their blood types tattooed inside of their armpits. Why tattoo on the armpit and not on the wrist or bicep, you might be wondering. Because an arm can easily be blown off during an attack, prompting the need for a quick infusion of blood or save the victim's life. The United States government shifted into overdrive trying to develop, manufacture, and then distribute a shelf-stable, protein-rich, and high-calorie food source to feed all of the many survivors they anticipated while they were living in fallout shelters and once them emerged from their bug-in locations. Around the country, fallout shelters for the masses were being developed and labeled by the FBI with telltale yellow and black signs. The faded presence of some still remain in the public buildings yet today, and there's one in Mason underneath the post office. Fallout shelter. And I found it.
Is there one here?
I don't know if there is or not. But there is one in Mason. I found the sign for it that pointed to where it is.
We should look into that.
Not like it's going to matter.
No.
Okay. The Boy Scouts were tasked with mapping out underground caves, abandoned mines, and in the case of Hawaii, lava tube caves, so they could be used to shield Americans from the nuclear blast. Civil defense teams on the local, state, the national level were attempting to cram as many folks into 10 square feet of living space as humanly possible. As the Army Corps of Engineers worked to make 450 caves across America habitable, government officials started to focus on both how safe and livable the makeshift underground shelters would be for the survivors who huddled inside. Would you give me a couple paper towels? Sorry, my nose is...
Do that in the most inopportune times.
Not my fault. Give me the paper towels.
That's it.
There's another roll over there. And I know there was, because there was a brand new roll that was gotten out.
I'm not seeing it.
Oh my gosh. Anyway. I lost my spot. In California, prison inmates who were offered a single day off of their sentences for each day they participated in underground shelter testing. The results of the underground fallout shelter testing ultimately created the national standards for such emergency dwellings. The next stage of ramped-up government Cold War planning focused keenly on how to feed the 50 million or so very hungry people expected to survive a nuclear war initiated by the Soviet Union. In 1955, the Federal Civil Defense Administration, under the guidance of President Dwight D. Eisenhower, launched the Grandma's Pantry public publicity campaign. The theory behind the catchy phrase meant to remind everyone how Granny always seemed to have plenty of food to go around no matter how many times company stopped by unexpectedly. Excerpt from a Grandma's Pantry radio advertisement. Grandma's Pantry, the symbol of preparedness. Unexpected company. Grandma always had plenty of food for everyone. In an emergency or during evacuation, in case of enemy attack, it's too late to plan. You'll have to depend on your own resources, on Grandma's pantry. Mothers around the country were also bombarded with articles in ladies' magazines that take the steps necessary to protect their family by stocking up on shelf-stable food items, as a part of Grandma's Pantry campaign. Sears and Roebuck mass-produced exhibits in hundreds of stores to remind shoppers to buy extra jugs of Tang and Hawaiian Punch, ample boxes of cereal, candy bars, and copious amounts of canned soup. As the decades rolled along, still under an intense threat of nuclear war, government officials finally figured out Tang and cornflakes rations were not going to cut it. After all, the panicked fleeing masses simply were not going to be able to pack all of Grandma's pantry food stockpiles with them to a community shelter, or have a place to store it in their allotted 10-square-foot space once they arrived. Heating food inside of a fallout shelter also proved to be a problematic concept for the planner. The powers that be ultimately decided the Doomsday diet must be something that is lightweight, small, does not need to be cooked or mixed, and be both rapidly and easily reproduced on a monumental scale never before undertaken in the history of the Republic. The Eisenhower administration embarked on the quest to develop the perfect Doomsday food. The requirements were stark. America's Armageddon ration needed to be nutritious, cheap, easy to eat, shelf-stable, and reproducible at mass scale. Taste, visual appeal, quality, packaging, and all the other attributes that normally come with designing a successful mass-produced consumer good would be discarded in favor of the simplest food the government could design. Why bulgur wheat? In 1958, the United States Department of Agriculture, along with the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, superheated the search for a perfect Armageddon entree. The agencies decided bulgur, a parched wheat, was the perfect base for a survival cracker. It is high in fiber, shelf-stable, whole-grain wheat that boasts a nutty flavor and was very inexpensively available in great quantity. During testing, researchers found the bulgur wheat-based crackers had only a mild decrease in flavor after being stored on a shelf for 52 months. Bulgur wheat is a whole grain that is made from cracked wheat. It boasts a fiber-rich content that could help improve both gut health and enhance digestion. Bulgur wheat is also jam-packed with vital vitamins and minerals. Another reason it was chosen by government researchers as the base ingredient for the Doomsday crackers. This type of wheat possesses twice as much fiber as brown rice and about 4 times as much folate content. Bulgur wheat is more nutritious than rice and can be substituted for rice in nearly any cooking or baking recipe. After bulgur wheat has been processed, it does not need to be cooked before it can be consumed. The only downside to bulgur wheat is the increased amount of natural oils that often go bad when stored in warm areas in a kitchen. Cranking out the SHTF crackers. The survival crackers could be mass-produced at a rate of about 37 cents for a single day's worth of food for one person. The only problem the federal government faced now involved getting enough factories on board to divert their operations to creating the Doomsday crackers. Approximately 3 million bushels of the bulgur wheat were awaiting being transformed into 150 million pounds of survival crackers. The Fisher Flour Mill, located in Seattle, was the only factory making the Doomsday Hardtack biscuits at the time. The plant simply could not crank out the amount of crackers needed to feed at least 50 million people fast enough. Pentagon officials met with American cereal manufacturers in late December of 1961 to team up on the Doomsday Survival Cracker making project. About $4 million and 5 months later, Kroger, Nabisco, United Biscuit Company, now Keebler, Sunshine Biscuits, and the Southern Biscuit Company started baking the Fallout Shelter cracker recipe. By the end of 1964, a little more than 20 billion survival crackers had been made and sealed in airtight tins. The tins of Doomsday rations were then shipped to all of the caves, public buildings, and government mountain bunkers, serving as fallout shelters. The Doomsday crackers contained 125 calories each, were about a quarter of an inch thick, and 2 inches square in shape. Nuclear war survivors were supposed to consume 6 crackers along with carbohydrate supplements, a hard candy type item, and a small amount of water each day. The survival diet would provide around 700 calories per person each day on the projected 14 days stay inside of a fallout shelter. The starvation diet would not prevent weight loss or hunger pangs, but would keep the survivors alive. Even though World War III did not occur then, the crackers were tested annually for freshness and put to good use during the 1970s. During the early part of the decade, the Doomsday survival crackers were used in international aid efforts to feed survivors of natural disasters and in famine relief programs. In 1978, the federal government issued a recall on all tins of survival crackers remaining in former fallout shelters and basements. Discovery of still intact tins of Doomsday crackers from the Cold War era are still found once in a while, prompting taste tests that are shared via YouTube. Each cracker holds about 150 calories. Survival cracker recipe. Ingredients and supplies. 2 teaspoons of salt, and I would use the Redmond's real salt. 2 cups of bulgur wheat flour. 1 cup of water, a mixing bowl, a sharp knife, mixing spoon, cookie sheet, straw, or a clean nail. Directions. Preheat the oven to 375 degrees. Combine the salt and bulgur flour together in the mixing bowl. Pour the water gradually, stirring to combine as you pour. Knead the dough with your hands. The dough will be sticky initially, but as you knead it, the stickiness will dissipate. If the dough does not lose the sticky texture, slowly sprinkle in just enough bulgur flour to take the tacky feel out of the dough as you knead it into a shape once again. Roll out the dough on the countertop or wax paper after sprinkling the surface with a bit of bulgur flour to ensure it does not stick to the surface. The dough must not be any thicker than a half of an inch, or it will not back evenly and thoroughly all the way through. They probably meant to put bake. Use a sharp knife to cut the flattened dough into 9 equal rectangles or squares. Use a straw or a clean nail to make a grid of 4 circles in each rectangle or square. Place the Doomsday rations onto an ungreased baking sheet. Bake the Doomsday rations for 30 minutes. Remove the crackers from the oven and carefully flip them over and bake at 375 degrees for another 30 minutes. Remove the Doomsday rations from the oven and allow them to cool completely. They should be slightly browned on each side. Depending upon both your oven and your climate, the baking time may need to be adjusted to avoid burning. Doomsday rations have been known to last for many years without the use of any special protective storage bags. For best results, I recommend storing the survival crackers in either a Mylar pouch or a Ziploc bag. And there you go. And that was Doomsday ration recipe. And kind of a little history behind it. So I'll go ahead and I'll get off from this one, and this one probably won't get uploaded until tomorrow. But be on the lookout for it, you guys, and I hope you guys are looking forward to these, because I'm going to start trying to crank out videos. So be sure you're checking your subscriptions. Welcome new subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. And I'm going to, please start leaving comments, you guys. I need to start getting people contacting me because I want to give you a new subscriber package. A t-shirt and a mug. Faith First Farm and Homestead. Okay? And I think what I'll do is I'll draw out or paint out the picture of what it's going to look like so you guys can see it. because they're going to be cute. So start leaving comments. I really want it. I would love to be able to send out 179 of these, okay, to each and every subscriber. So leave a comment. Let's get in touch and give me your address so I can get you a t-shirt and a mug. Faith First Farm and Homestead, alright, you guys? And I will see you on the next video. I'm going to be doing one more, and I'll start uploading them. I'm only going to get one uploaded tonight, so I'll work on the other ones tomorrow. But I will see you guys in the next one, and you guys have a good night. Bye, guys.